I guess you just stay in the good neighborhoods and you're safe. There tend to be more dangerous neighborhoods than, at least than my experience in the U.S. I could go anywhere all over Provo and I'd be safe, or I'd feel safe here. But in France, if I'm in a town, I know that there's at least one area that's kind of not safe, or at least not safe at night. So there's kind of the center of the town in every town, and there's an old town, so it's Centreville and Vieilleville. And those places are usually pretty safe no matter where you're at, as long as you're with your companion and you're keeping the rules and being a good person. Usually, there are a lot of homeless people, but like I said, they're just having a hard time. So you can be nice to them, you can talk to them, and I think that they have a right to the gospel just like anyone else. So I would oftentimes give them a Book of Mormon or a website card or whatever. And a lot of people will ask for money, and you just have to say, no, I don't have money that I can give you. But I have something else that I can help you with. And a lot of the homeless people, they want to be homeless. They can get by doing that. They can make a lot of money that way. So I was never against buying food and giving it to them. We had investigators or I don't know if we ever had members of the church. Maybe, some converts and investigators that had financial difficulties, and oftentimes we had a lot of extra food, surprisingly, and so we would give them canned foods or pastas or things like that. There are some areas that they're called, it's the HLM in the banlieue, and it's kind of usually right outside of the centervilles, or the center of town, that there are these areas where they have very high, it's kind of like apartment complexes, very tall apartment buildings, very condensed. So you'd have like 13 floors and 5 rooms per floor, and then you'd have 7 buildings like this. And oftentimes you'd have a lot of poor people, immigrants, blacks, Arabs, poor French people, Romanians, gypsies, that would live in these areas. And we would do a lot of daytime work in areas like that because it was easy to go door to door. And a lot of people, they would be religious. If you had, Romanians that are Christian, or a lot of Africans that would come to France from a lot of different countries, they would be Christian. You also have Muslims as well. And so our chances, we felt, were pretty high of getting into people's homes to teach. And that's true, but when it became nighttime, it could be dangerous. You'd have a lot of, most, in our experience, with me and my companions, a lot of the danger was actually a lot of Arabic youth that would be out at night, and they would kind of, pick on people like us. They didn't like the Jehovah's Witnesses very much, so they would think that we were them, and they would kind of call out to us, and you'd just say, hey, we gotta go, but it's good to see you. And you didn't really have trouble like that very often, but sometimes you'd have interesting discussions about what they believe and what we believe. And what I always say is, people who are living their religions, they're good people. They tend to be good people. Because religion doesn't teach us to be mean in general. It doesn't teach us to persecute others. And again, I think a lot of people, when they lash out or when they're angry or when they're close to religion, it's because they're scared. So I've had run-ins with people that were mean, that were rude. There were times walking home at night that, people would throw stuff at us, but we didn't see where from, or even as we were walking around town, people would throw little pebbles or whatever, like little kids that were making mischief. But I think that you could get that anywhere. And there were times in my mission, cars would get vandalized. If you left a Book of Mormon in the front seat of the car, there were times that the people would slash the tires and break the windows. And if once when I was with my companion, we were in one of these Shalem areas with these big apartment complexes, and it was nighttime, and we were just going to visit a convert, and his family. Not his family weren't members, but his daughter was going to get baptized, and she ended up getting baptized, so that's really cool. But he lived in this neighborhood that wasn't a good neighborhood, especially at night for missionaries. So we parked our car, and my companion said, I don't feel good about this. And so we called up our friend, and we canceled our meeting, and we said, we'll need to come back another time, but we can't make it. This isn't going to work out. And our car probably would have gotten trashed. We parked in this area that there weren't very many cars, and there were 20 or so Arab kids hanging around, kind of just hanging, loitering. And so it was kind of not good signs. We had been able to kind of hide our car among other cars or get out of our car really quickly, so people didn't know that it was the missionaries in the past. But this time we felt like we should leave. And so I think that the Spirit really tells you, it's the guide. Is this a dangerous moment? Should I be here or not? There are some areas that are blocked off. At least we have maps in our apartments, and certain areas were red areas, and we were not allowed to go into those areas unless we had an appointment. Then we go in and we get out. And that was the way you did it. You would go to appointments, you would avoid red areas, and you'd listen to the Spirit. There were a few times, I can think of one in particular at least, that the Spirit said, you need to leave right now. And so we left. And, I definitely know that the Lord takes care of His servants. I'm not saying bad things don't happen. There were car accidents from who knows what. And you hear about missionaries who pass away on their missions for whatever reason. But God keeps His promises, and He does protect us, and He has work for us to do. And I believe that, and I know that that's true. If something happens, I know that there's a reason for it. So